dear colleagues and guests. First of all, I would like to congratulate you, to welcome you on behalf of Lithuanian Dental Chamber here in Vilnius. And I would like to express our huge gratitude to all of you for accepting our invitation, for being here, for sharing your experiences. Today, we will be talking about financing of oral health care in our countries. However, I strongly believe that first of all, we would like to emphasize the importance of oral health promotion. And unfortunately, today we are paying to our patients mainly for dental neglect, I would say, not for taking a proper oral health care. Because millions and millions euros is being paid for restorative dentistry and much, much less for preventive dentistry. And we all know very well that majority of dental disease are absolutely avoidable and preventable with certain behavior from the side of the patient. So, because of this, I think that our main enemy we should fight against is not microbes in our oral cavities, however, myths and disbeliefs in minds of our patients. That's why I'm very happy to see today amongst us some of our Lithuanian politicians from governmental side and parliament side who are responsible for policy making in oral health care here in Lithuania. Our national oral health promotion program is on the way, and I truly hope that this event will have an influence on successful preparation and later on, subsequently, on successful implementation of this program in Lithuanian population. And I would like to invite to say welcome in word our representative of Committee of Health Affairs from Lithuanian Parliament, Dr. Jurgita Sejonienė.
Thank you, Professor. I think you said all of the most important things. From my side, I also greet all of you who's taking part here today, organizers, participants, speakers, all attendees here on site or remotely. I think it's very important to talk about oral health. It's very impressive to have almost all Baltic countries here today, and all we share the same problems, or we have different. Also, we have different experiences, and it's very important to share good practices and our problems in order to make differences. For example, in Lithuania, I do not neglect, we have a lot of problem with oral health, and I hope that today's conference will make a significant implement on our decisions as policymakers, as politicians. So let's have a good time. Thank you all. Thank all of you.
A President of Council of European Dentists, Dr. Fredislav Lisbier. I'm sorry for my pronunciation. And I just want to repeat, well, because of a microphone, that we are very proud and honored to have you here today. So, and I would like to invite Dr. Freddy to present the oral health care in European Union.
So, thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. And it's an honor to be invited to this conference. Could I please have my slides on the screen? Oh yes, thank you, thank you. It is really an honor for me to be here today and talk about the financing and the delivering of oral health. And although I come from Denmark, I will today be wearing the CD President hat, and I will try to give you an office that I run in Denmark. And I have been a dentist for almost 40 years, so it's a long, long time ago since I left dental school. After that, I went to Germany to work. We were at that time in a situation in Denmark where there were too many dentists. So not to be unemployed, we decided, me and my wife, to go to Germany and work there for 12 years. So I'm very familiar with the German way to do dentistry. We went back to Denmark, both of us, taking over the leadership of a public dental office only working for children. In Denmark, we have a different system as you have everywhere. My wife will talk a little bit about that. But I was for 5 years the chief dentist from a small municipality, only working with public dentistry for children. Then we decided again to work with adults and bought our own office and have been running that for more than 20 years. So just to let you know that I'm a full-time clinician. I'm also a little bit of a politician, so allow me from time to time to come with some political statements. I'm not a scientific, so if you want to stick deeper into the material, I'm sure there will be many else to be asked. So, but and the next thing to talk about is a little bit about the CED. What is CED? Many of you are familiar with that, but there will also be some among you who are not. Yeah, we are representing the dental profession in the European Union and in the 4 countries who have very close connections to the European Union. So you can say we are representing close to 340,000 dentists around all the European countries. We were established a long time ago in '61, at that time as a liaison committee to advise the European Commission about matters related to the dental profession. And what do? Yes, we promote high standards of oral health, dentistry and dental health care. And we also promote the interest of the dental profession. No doubt about that. So you can say we stand on 2 legs. But we also do that as a human being. It's very important to move. So I don't see any contradiction in promoting the interest of the dental profession and at the same time working for high standards of oral health dentistry and dental care. They are really linked very close to each other. And we have a dental board. We are 8 members of the board, representing 8 different countries in Europe. Just to let you know, we are working so different. So we need to have a board with many people that we can have all the different systems presented and then represent also the big diversity of how we do dentistry in Europe. We have 2 general meetings, one in spring and one in autumn, where everybody comes together talking about dentistry. And we have a Brussels office with 4 people employed to take care of the daily business. We have 5 working groups, and you can see we deal more or less with everything about dentistry. Education, professional qualification is very important because we have a recognition across the European countries, so we have to do that on a level. But you can read that all about on the screen. I'm not here to talk about the CED. And all our policy statements, there are a lot of them. I won't go through them. You can find them on our webpage, and we also have a public part of that. So if you want to move a little bit deeper, just consult our webpage or consult our office in Brussels. They will take care about that. So, but the topic today was to talk about the delivery and the financing of oral health care in Europe. And as I already said, this is really not an easy task to be given because we are all doing that differently. From an overall point of view, I think we are having a health system for 3 reasons. We want to deliver prevention of disease, no doubt about that. We already heard that in the introduction. That is maybe the most important thing about having a health system. But again, somebody will get sick. So we also have to do treatment and take care of the sick. That should be, in my opinion, the second purpose for having a health system. And then we have a third one. This is about financing. Yes, if we don't have a health system, we will maybe ruin families paying high doctors and dentists bills. So I think that's the reasons everywhere why we have built up health systems. This is a little bit about solidarity, also to prevent disease, but also to take care of the people who are going to be sick, because there will always be sick patients out there. And how have we organized that in Europe? Yeah, we are using 3 different models. We have the national health system. That's the system that you know from the Scandinavian countries, also the country where I myself come from. In Denmark, we have a tax-funded system. We have most of the healthcare workers are employed by the public in public-owned hospitals, and that's also the way they do it in Norway and in Sweden and in UK. It's also called the Beveridge model, after an Englishman who made this system in the UK shortly after the war, if I remember right. But so I know a little bit about working in a national health system model. But as I said in my introduction, I also have worked in Germany, and they are using a different model called the Bismarck model, where we have sickness funds, where the payment comes from payrolls. There is the employees and the employers are paying a part for this system, but the system is still under very strong control from the government. I'm sure that Dr. Benz will say that's exactly the system in Germany too, although the Bismarck model is different and you have your sickness funds, but it's not without control from the government. Am I right?
Yes. Sure.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have a mix of those 2 systems. It's sometimes called the national health insurance system, where it's not paid through taxes, but we have a system where there is maybe only one big insurance who is taking care of all the things, but the deliverers are often private hospitals or private doctors and dentists. That's about the systems. And the fourth one I forgot, you can also have totally paying out of the pocket, but we don't use that model in Europe at all. But we see that in third countries out there. There is absolutely nothing. So I have worked in 2 of those systems, and none of them is pure. If you look to my own national system, we can say, yes, it's maybe a national health system when we talk about general health, but you will hear when we talk about dental health, this is more or less an insurance system or out-of-pocket payment system. And that's also what we see everywhere, that they are not pure. There are mixes of things in there. And you will not hear me saying that one system is better than the other, because this is only a system. It's also about the processes and the people working there. So there are good things about one system and there are bad things. And maybe we can figure out to do it the very best way, but I'm not so sure that we can get to a uniform opinion on a European level. It's my experience working with that for so many years that everybody think that exactly the system that we have is the best one. And again, I can only tell you about my clinical point of view. I'm not a scientific. I haven't done research about that. So, but if we look so from overall trends, you can see to the left, there are some structural changes in the workforce, privatization, group practices, and focus on treatment with signs of shift towards preventive therapies. I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. And then we have about the financing, and this is more or less everywhere the same, that vulnerable population groups, they are covered. It's certainly the case for children. The ways to finance it, I already talked about that. But seen from the outside, 1/3 come from public sources and 3/3 it's out of pocket, with big differences. We have countries also in Europe where the out-of-pocket payment for dentistry is close to 100%. And that's the case in Spain and in Greece, for example. We also have a country where the out-of-pocket spending, it's about 30 to 40%. That's the case in Germany. So there is a very big variation across Europe. So if we look a little bit about the trends in the EU, privatization of dental care for us working in the Western countries, it had always been the situation that if you look away from the Scandinavian countries with Sweden and Finland, where they always had a very big amount of dentists working in public offices, it was more or less everything private in the Western European countries, and in the Eastern countries you had more a public model. But that has changed a lot after 90. So if you look from an overall point of view, 80% of the dental care in Europe is done in private practices. So then I also say there is an increased number of dentists. Yes, that's true. If you go to the statistics and you count the numbers for Europe at all, you will see we have an increased number of dentists. But we have many countries where we really face a decrease, and we are running into a big challenge in the future because we have a group of, like me, elderly dentists, who will retire in the next 5 to 10 years. In my own country, 20% of the dentists we expect to go in pension in the next 5 to 10 years. And we don't educate that much dentists. So in Denmark, we are talking about lack of dentists. I know they are talking about exactly the same in the Netherlands. I still have good connections to Germany, friends working there. They are also telling about a situation where there is not enough dentists. So again, increased number of dentists, it's for an overall European point of view. And this also leads to migration. You can see in many countries there are a lot of dentists coming from neighbor countries, maybe because they speak the language and are going to work in other countries where the conditions are much better. They maybe earn a little bit more. So we see a big movement of dentists from the southeastern parts of Europe to the western countries, which of course helps us in the western countries where we are in a lack of dentists. But again, is that fair that some countries educate dentists just to let them move to other countries? You have spent a lot of money doing the education. You have invested, in my opinion, a lot of money in a young generation who then leaves your country. Full understandable, because the working conditions maybe are better in other countries. So the CED point of view is you have to take care of the healthcare workers, the dentist, the dental hygienist, the dental chairside assistant that you need in your country. Don't expect that you can import them from other countries. But again, this is maybe with thinking, because the real world, we see a big migration of dentists. We also experience a situation with cross-border dentistry. And if you look to the right, you can see we are talking about both dental tourism and cross-border healthcare. These are, of course, close linked to each other, but not the same. Living in a country with borders close to other countries, it's totally normal that people move over the border to have dental treatment or healthcare treatment in another country for many reasons. One of them could be, while we have a big out-of-pocket payment in dentistry, that it's cheaper. It's maybe not a problem for patients living in the southern part of Denmark, going for Germany to get dentistry done there. Same quality, they maybe speak the language, but it's 20% cheaper than in Denmark. They do that on a regular basis. They visit their dentist once or twice a year. Many of the dentists in Germany, at least in that part of Germany, speak Danish. we don't see any big problems about that, also because we are European dentists working together. But if you then move to the other part, that what we can call dental tourism, as people buying a flight ticket, moving to Hungary or Czech, who are two of those countries where they do a lot of dental tourism, going to specialized clinics,